That is happening. That's nice for the school's YouTube. Yes. All right. So, welcome to the monthly Masterwork Practice Hour, brought to you in collaboration with the Leo Marchutz School of Painting and Drawing, where all of my art education and training
Recording
happens.
in progress.
Ooh, God. All right. There we go. Um, The Marchutz School is always doing wonderful programs, painting and drawing online and in person. And there's a couple new ones that I just want to share with you all before we get started today. So, um, some of you may have taken either my color theory class with the Smithsonian or just studied color theory on your own through practicing painting. I am running a session this September called Eyes for Hue, Deep Guided Practice in Color Mixing. It's going to be a little bit more like a fitness program in color mixing than a deep dive into color theory. There'll be a review of color theory in the very beginning, but really I have exercises for everyone that are designed to help you just strengthen your eye's ability to sense color and to mix those colors. All right. So that will be this coming September. Just want to give you a heads up now. A 4-week class online for you to strengthen your sensitivity to color and yeah, develop your color mixing. The other one I want to share with you all is actually an in-person opportunity to paint with me abroad next spring in Venice, Italy. So if you've ever had dreams of taking your painting practice to new horizons, to gaining new experience with what you already love doing with a group of enthusiastic artists. Take a look at what the Marchutz School is offering next spring in Venice, Italy, and we can paint together. All right. I will put a link in the chat for just a moment for you to check out those programs, but I just want to highlight those two specific things that I will be leading with the Marchutz School in the next 12 months. Cool. Also joining us today is a special guest, a very good friend of mine, an artist, a teacher, but frankly, almost like a sister to me. Whenever her and her husband pass through Washington, D.C., they stay with my mother. Her name is Pauline Betrancourt, and she is an artist working in Aix-en-Provence, teaching with the Leo Marchutz School as well. I love sharing everything that I've learned through my practice, okay? But if you've taken a class with me, you've heard me say before that I am by no means the beginning and end of art. So to expose you to different perspectives, Pauline is joining us today, and Pauline will actually be hosting July's practice hour. Okay, so you all will get a chance to practice with her next month, learn about her process, ask her questions, and get to know her as well. Pauline, you want to say hi to the group?
Pauline. Hi, I'm very, very pleased to meet you. I am just so grateful to be here. And yes, Nick is such a wonderful friend, brother-like, and I'm very happy to be here and to meet you all.
Wonderful, great. Pauline, quick question. What medium are you going to be working in today?
This is interesting, actually. I will be using the graphite that your last student was showing at the end of the session, which is like, it doesn't look that great here, but it's
Oh,
basically graphite that you can dissolve with water, and I use it with a brush. So it sort of helped me to meet painting and drawing by using graphite, but also using a brush to use brush strokes.
super cool. Wonderful, Pauline. Fantastic. All right. Enchanté, Pauline. Great to have you here. Let me get you all to today's image, okay? And it's funny, actually, it's almost as if Pauline just ESP'd the image to me with her background because we are going very classic, hands-on, very classic Marchutz school here. So we'll be working on the Mont Saint-Victoire with the Chateau Noir in front of it. All right. please feel free to get started. I have just a couple more things to share with you all, but work away, work away, work away. Um, so, some quick guidelines and reminders. The practice hour is an opportunity for us artists to get some practice. This is not a class. I do not have a lesson planned. When working from a masterwork, the goal is not to make a forgery of what's there, but to have your own experience with the painting and practice putting it together according to whatever key relationships and essential elements you see. Make your own parallel image with your own touch. It can still be an opportunity to learn. I will be sharing insights about my process as the session unfolds. Feel free to ask questions, all right? However, if you don't have something you want to say, remain muted just to eliminate any background noise. And likewise, if you are in the zone and just want to work, feel free to mute me. I won't take it personally, I promise. Special thank you to our returning participants who regularly contribute. We are happy to offer this monthly online practice hour at no cost to our community. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation to support the mission of the Leo Marchutz School of Painting and Drawing, at a link that I will be providing you in the chat in just a moment. So, you all get going. I've got just a couple bits of tidying up to do on my end in my workspace, but I will get my camera up in just a moment. Let's see. Okay, very good. So in the chat, I've just put two links. The first one is to the programs I mentioned to you all. The Eyes for Hue guided practice in color mixing online course that I'll be running in September, as well as the Venice trip next spring. So this can go away. And you'll have to forgive me for just a moment. I want to get my desk up here. So the image is going to vanish for just a split second, but I promise it'll come right back. Okay. Just want to make it so that there we go. And now make this a little bit. Very good, very good. And I will make the reference a little bit larger for you all. Cool. All right, great. Super cool that Pauline is doing the powdered graphite. I'm not sure what you exactly call it, but I have a little jar here with my own makeshift. I think someone in the last practice session or one of my classes said that they just shave their graphite shavings. So I've dedicated a little container next to my desk for all my little graphite shavings. Um, and yeah, I did that a couple weeks ago when we had our last session. But I think this time I'm just gonna go good old watercolor. Nothing crazy. My paper's not even that big, I will admit. I have I think this is A5, so pretty small. And I'm actually going to be painting with these guys, these water brushes. I don't know, maybe some of you are familiar with them or have seen them or used them before. But the idea is that the reservoir here, or the handle here, is actually a reservoir of water. You can sort of see the bubble sliding back and forth there. And it kind of eliminates you having to carry containers of water with you when you're on the go. I travel a lot with my watercolors, so I'm always looking for ways to make things just a little bit more minimalist. I love being lightweight and yeah, just not burdened, encumbered by supplies. So I want to get a little more practice with these. They take a little getting used to. So that's what this practice hour is for. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start. Actually, let me see what I got here. I've got my watercolor set here. I think I might just spray down a bit of this paper. It's not the heaviest paper that I have, so actually, no. I'm gonna take, there's tons of water on my palette right now, and I'm just gonna start getting certain regions of my image wet where I want to begin. And I like to start pretty loose. I don't really measure things too hard when I'm, just practicing for myself like this. I kind of just like to go with what I see, or more like what my eye is drawn to and just go from there. So I see that the concentration of light is right at the face of that mountain there. So I'm going to work around that and try to protect that first. All right, so I've got a little bit of that violet, that gray violet down. I'm going to continue sort of shaping the face of the light, or the light that I see on the face of the mountain, excuse me, um, in the center there, just by building up some of the color that I see elsewhere. I'm working around where I see the architecture. All right, that's going to be, I really want that to be orange and for the orange to sing like orange. So I don't want it to be muddied up by all of this blue and violet that I'm putting down. That would really um, sort of tarnish, taint any orange that I put down there.
Hey, this is Captain.
Hey,
Nick
Captain.
or Pauline, could you tell us the name of the mountain again? I was just wanted to check like a reference photo if I can find one online, just to know
Absolutely.
a little
Pauline,
more what
have
I'm.
at it.
Yes, the mountain is called the Mount Sainte Victoire,
Oh,
like
okay,
Saint
thank you.
Victory.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Hey, Pauline, have you ever hiked up to the top of the mountain?
I have hiked up to the top of the mountain a few times, and it is quite incredible. Um, one needs to get kind of ready for a big hike, I would say. There are different ways to go up to it. The mountain is very dry on its south side,
Okay.
um, but there's a lot more forest on the northern side, and there's an absolute gorgeous view on X and the whole valley.
Nice. Um, we have another friend of ours who studied with us in X. Grace, you're here. Great to have you here. Grace, have you hiked up to the top of the mountain?
I have hiked up to the top of the mountain, and it is a hike. It is a pretty good hike.
Um, yeah, it's true. The times that I've done it, it's taken me easily 4.5 hours to get to the top. Um, with some breaks, but it can be, yeah, it's a long hike for sure. Um, I had a classmate when I was studying at Marchutz one time, like at least 12 years ago. And he carried an entire oil painting setup all the way to the top of the mountain and painted from the top of the mountain. And, at that time when you're like 22 years old and you're just full of energy, I guess you could say, that seems feasible. But the thought right now, I mean, I can barely carry a whole oil painting setup just, to city center Dublin here. The thought of going all the way up to the top of the mountain is quite a feat. But he did it, and he managed to knock out a pretty great painting from up there, from what I remember.
Nick, I'm sorry to interrupt. What blue are you using?
Yeah, this is ultramarine blue.
Thanks.
I have two blues. I got ultramarine, and I have a turquoise, which is kind of a new um, guest color in my in my watercolor set right now. So yeah, just playing with it, but this is ultramarine blue generally around here. Um, and yeah, right now, I'll admit I'm not paying super close attention to the hues. Maybe I should be paying more attention, but I'm just trying to build up the general areas of what is light and what is dark in this painting. And I think I will start moving into some greens next.
The fun fact about the mountain is that Paul Cézanne hiked it in all direction from a very young age, and even older later he tried to when he was in his 50s. So it's definitely a landscape that he knew by heart.
Yeah. Do you happen to know how many times he painted it, Pauline? Off the top of your head?
Of the top of my head, isn't it more than 80 times? Let
Yeah.
me check.
Oof. Uh, Here, I'll actually pull a little bit of my palette into view as well, if that'll be helpful. But I'm driving all over the road right now with my colors. I will admit. Um, I am swerving across lanes here. Let's see. All right.
So are we looking at more of the rocky part or I forget what Pauline said, forested part or?
I want to say this is the south. Well,
It's the east south, yes, but east basically.
east basically. So our backs are to the what? The southeast? Is that what you're saying?
Well, right now our back,
Like if we were looking at this
yes, it's
yeah,
southeast,
south.
basically.
Okay, cool. Oh my God, Yvette,
Southeast.
great. Hey, Yvette, great to have you here. Been a minute. We're all just working on this painting of the Mont Saint-Victoire. Okay. And really, if I'm being true to what I typically do, I'll admit, I'm kind of just, like I said, swerving all over the map right now. But I think it would behoove me to start getting some of that orange in. So, that architecture right there, when I look at it, one, it is sort of the counterpoint color-wise to the rest of the image, or there's a lot of blue and cool greens happening. So to have this um, building, this architecture with geometric shapes that is orange and warm, it serves as a bit of a counterpoint. And I think before I totally smother what I've got going on with all the greens that I'm trying to get, it might behoove me to get some of that orange in there, especially because I want that orange to sing relatively bright. Um, I don't want it to be muddied by too much else. I don't want it to be dark. So I want to use the transparency of this area of my paper right here. So I'm going to switch, um, get away from the cool side of the color wheel and move to clean my brush so I can get some warmer colors down. So I'm going to be very approximate with the shape. I'm not going to try and make it perfect right now. I just want to get the warm tones down there that I am sensing in roughly the spot that I sense them in, so I can start building and painting the other colors in relation to that there. So it's not about getting it perfect right now, but it's about having generally the tone that I want there so that I can continue to build this image cohesively. Okay. Right. All right, let me try to reel this in a little bit. General composition things are sort of down, but let me get a little bit more into what's really happening back in the center of this painting. All right, so I'm gonna go back to blue. Let me get that general or just something cool. And I want it pretty diluted so that it's very transparent on the paper. And let me try to shape this mountain a touch more. So there's this slope up this way. Okay. That may help a touch. Let me get some other tones in there. I can already tell my main problem is that the um the aspect ratio of my version is not the same as the one um in the reference image, which may cause me some problems, but I can adapt. No big deal. So something that's difficult or takes getting used to with these water brushes that I'm working with is that there's always water slowly filling the bristles of my brush. So if you've worked in watercolor before, or if you've worked with me in a class in watercolor before, I talk a lot about water management, and it definitely changes the water management game when there's sort of water always leaking into your brush. Remember, that's one of the places you have to be aware of where your water is or how much water is present if you're working in watercolor. Um, but yeah, I find that, without totally realizing it, because I'm not doing it myself, all of my colors, all of my strokes get a little bit more diluted than I'm expecting. So I'm constantly having to wipe my brush on a paper towel and get some of that moisture off to get darker and darker strokes. But no big deal. We persevere. After all, this is just practice. No masterpieces here, except the one we're looking at, of course. I think I put a little too much color down, so I'm just going to take my dry paper towel and pick some of this up. There we go. And I think I might give this a moment to chill out and dry as well. All right. So this is a good foundation, good enough foundation. And I'm going to keep pushing it forward, getting progressively darker and darker. So I'm trying to use less. I had really big puddles in all of my colors in my watercolor set, and now I'm trying to pull a little more pure pigment. And let's see. Well, I could start by me, help shape some of this architecture a little bit. Nice. So even just darkening this corner of the painting a little bit has already shaped what's happening here a little bit more. This corner comes forward a little bit. Now I understand a little bit more how this orange area, where it sits in space, and then the mountain goes a little bit further back in the distance, but I can do more, of course. There we go. Starting to take a little bit better shape already, just by making things darker. Jeez, way too dark. I do not know what I was thinking. All right. All right, so I've been working around the edges a lot, the periphery of this, and I kind of want to get into the mountain a little bit more and the architecture of the Chateau Noir. So I am right now taking a brush with no color on it, no paint on it, and sort of shaping, scrubbing out some of the marks I made earlier just to shape the face of the mountain a little bit more. In some of my classes before, I've called this technique scrubbing. That is a very super formal art school term for scrubbing away paint with a wet brush. Because the colors I've put down are nice, but I don't know. I need to, it's not quite forming the mountain the way I want it to. And I think I can sculpt it just a teeny bit more, but again with moments of light. Let's see. Like this area right above the architecture, I think is a little too dark on mine. I think I can soften it up a little bit more and push the mountain further back into the distance. So again, just taking my brush, no pigment. I can scrub away some of what I've done, and that's going to help place the face of the mountain in space and also maybe even delineate the edge of the mountain. Hey everyone, just a little time check. We'll keep going for just under 20 more minutes, okay? So still a good bit of time to work on this. still trying to get into some of the textures inside the face of the mountain here. So just, trying to play with it, get the tones down that I see. I don't know that I really have a great strategy for this. I'm kind of just being a little impulsive, frankly. But let's see what comes out. It's sort of getting there. I mean, it definitely feels like the mountain is sitting back there. Or maybe let me work a little bit more on some of these other areas, like what is going on here on the right. A little more green. A deep, cool green. Let's see if I can get that. All right. Not bad. I can accept that and work with that. Still not my greatest effort, but so be it. This is just practice. The most important part is that we're showing up, we're giving it an honest effort. So, two things I definitely want to balance out in my image before this wraps up in the next 15 minutes or so. The architecture and the top. And I think I'll go architecture first. I feel like that would be the responsible thing to do. And that way, if I run out of time, the top can be done, I think, a little more hastily, and it'll be okay. So I'm trying to, I have this area that I've sort of preserved where the architecture is going to go. And now I want to develop it a little bit more. So I'm going to be using darker values of this orange. And let's see how far I get with that. All right. Again, not trying to be perfect. There are definitely some areas that I could use. I'll put in a little bit of raw sienna. Okay. I mean, that orange there isn't all the same tone. There's a lot of different tones of orange putting that building together. What I like about watercolor is that I don't have to get any of those tones right on the first touch. I can kind of just put down generally the color that I see in that area and then adjust by painting directly into that area. So this certainly too red, all right, but I can, take my brush, sort of move it around, spread it about, and form it into the architecture that I want it to be. Et voilà. So here I'm just dropping a little bit of red into some of the areas where I think my orange is a little too yellow. And that'll shape the architecture a little bit further. And then I'm going to give it a second to dry and absorb into the paper before doing much more to it. But for now, that's already doing better. A little bit more what we're looking for. Okay, cool. And so while that's absorbing, I'm going to return to the top. I'll start making this dark to really complete the embrace of light that Cezanne has going on here. So, yeesh. Okay. Okay, so I still want to get a little bit more shape into this mountain. I don't want to draw completely the contours. Um, that's just not my thing, really. But I want to have enough going on visually so that you can at least sense the the edge of the mountain. What's kind of amazing looking at paintings like this, or paintings that Cezanne did of the mountain and having seen the mountain, is seeing how Cezanne chose to summarize the shape of the mountain. In the peak there, he's not going for every single contour in every single rock face and crag on the mountain, but he grabs onto just enough of what characterizes the mountain to be really clear about, what landmark he's working on. All right. All right, everyone, let's go for just a little more than 5 minutes. All right. I think the last couple things I'm going to do to bring this painting home, I want to articulate some of the architecture. All right. There are some, geometric shapes that I think need to be, just spelled out a little bit more. And then I may take one last lap around the painting real quick of all the foliage that I see. I may need to push those a wee bit darker. Pauline, how are you getting along with your powdered graphite on this?
Um, Fine. I finished it earlier because with the values, and I'm working on a small watercolor now.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Very, very cool.
Very, very, very small.
Like a 5 small or smaller?
Smaller.
Got it.
3 by 4 inches.
Oh, great. This is like a cute little business card you're going to give to someone, or a little thank you card you'll send to someone.
Exactly.
Voila, cool.
It is incredibly refreshing to do this exercise with y'all.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. What makes it refreshing for you?
Just being in the zone, looking at a great works of art, but also listening to you as you go in your process, watching your work emerge along the way also is really inspiring, and it helps to get in the zone and learn as one goes, and also feeling like even if we are online and on different continents or time zone, it just still feel like there's a sense of togetherness, and I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
oh, Pauline, man, we should have had you in here, way sooner.
I should have come way sooner, definitely.
Yeah. The practice hour is old news to all these other people already. They've been. For months, years even.
Yes.
But
Mhm. Yes, I noted. And it's just, yes, it's just incredible. And to listen to you talk, is just and explore. I just find it fantastic.
Fantastic. Love it. Okay. I think let me do just a tiny bit more around the architecture, and I think I'm just going to play around darkening some bits here and there as I see fit with the last couple minutes we have remaining. This, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to live with that for now. Um, do I to fuss or not to fuss is always the question, isn't it? To nitpick, to try and edit, to try and make perfect. Isn't that always the thought cycles we have going through this? I know I could just
Don't do
will.
it.
Thank
Don't
you.
do it.
Thanks, Cecilia. Thank you. You talked me back off the edge for a moment there.
I'm already having to control myself over here.
Yeah. Control yourself with your work, or control yourself from
Mine. mine,
Okay.
and so I'm trying to help you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that helps. That helps. Okay. All right. Yeah, a little less fussing. Let's do a little more balancing the image. All right, let's take 2 minutes, everyone. So begin wrapping up the part of the painting you are working on now. And then we'll take a cute little group screenshot of all of our work so that our dear Rose can share it with you all and you can see what we do. Also, in my practice memos, for those of you that have signed up to my practice memos on my website, you may notice a couple changes, okay? Just in layout and design, the practice memos have a slightly different look, but all the same information is there. And I have begun sharing my previous session's work at the very head of those newsletters. So you can see what I do. If you see it unfold here in the session, but if you just want to look at the final work, or maybe if you missed the session and we're curious what we worked on, I will be posting, or at least sharing the image there in the practice memos. Yeah, I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to share, but it skipped my mind. So maybe we'll get to it next time. All right, everyone, how about one more minute? I am just going around trying to push certain parts, certain essential darks even darker. And then we'll take a look at what we've done, and then we can call it a session. I may have to call that my study for this afternoon slash morning's session. How about just a couple more seconds, everyone? And then we will conclude our work today. Not bad, not bad. Not bad. Painting happened today. Sometimes you go through these things and you don't have to wow yourself. You know what I mean? You don't have to beat yourself up either if you feel like you've fallen short. All you got to say is painting happened today, and that is plenty right there. That is enough right there. Staying warm, staying connected to the practice, that's what really counts. That is what will yield good work in the future, and also make sure that we keep developing our eye and our touch. Okay, everyone. So real quick before we go to a group screenshot, just want to share a friendly reminder in case you came in late that my dear friend Pauline will be hosting next month's practice hour. So next month's practice hour will be Sunday, July 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so slightly different time for next month's session, and actually pay close attention to the times moving forward right until the beginning of the fall. They're going to be kind of here and there moving about the midday on Sunday, just to accommodate our schedules. All right, so Pauline will be hosting the practice hour Sunday, July 27th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Keep an eye out for that. The registration links in my practice memos or the Leo Marchutz School's newsletter. And with that, I will take this away and kindly ask that you all show your work so I can nab a quick screenshot. Yeah, cool. All right, Yvette, look at you. All right. Nan, beautiful. Cecilia, gorgeous work. Pauline, I see you there. All right, hold those up, everyone. Keep those up. Beautiful. Gorgeous. All right. Wonderful work, everyone. great to have you here. As always, thank you for practicing with me. Pauline, great to have you here. Looking forward to what you do with the group next month. Um, and yeah, you've painted today. You've accomplished something today. And now we can all watch that Roland Garros. Okay.
Thank you,
So,
Nick.
oh, my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Picture if you want.
Nice to
Stay
meet
in
you,
touch.
Pauline.
Nice to
Oh,
meet you
yeah.
too.
Bye
Was
then.
wonderful. Beautiful.
There we go.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank
rest of your
you.
weekend. We'll
Thank
be in
you so
touch.
much. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.